Philip got a call from his mother 2 days ago that his immediate brother, Gerald, was coming to stay with him in Lagos. They lived in the village. Philip was the only one brilliant enough to go to school. Others couldn't, so they languished in the village with their mother. Philip came from a poor home, having lost his father at an early age. Their mother was left alone to take care of 4 children. Due to their several days of hawking, they missed out on basic foundational knowledge that helps students in their latter academic years. As a result, they couldn't cope at all in their secondary schools. Philip's siblings had to repeat classes severally, and even when they finished, they couldn't pass their external exam. They resorted to learning skills in the village, skills that fetched them peanuts due to the low financial power of the villagers. Philip stood out among his siblings. He went through the same hardship as theirs, but he was bright enough to go to school and even got a scholarship, in addition to odd jobs he did that sustained him all through the university. He got a job a year ago as a junior accountant in a company. He lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. We can't call him rich yet, as he still struggles financially, but to his family who live in the village, they saw him as a rich man. Every month, he sends them the amount he budgets for them, though they have made several attempts to ask for more, but it doesn't go beyond his budget for the month. This incited Gerald against him, who thought he was being stingy. Gerald was a bitter man. He hardly smiled, always frowns. They have all had a tough life, but Gerald wears his own on his face. As a result, he didn't have friends. He throws tantrums like a child, one of which necessitated their mother to send him to the city after he lamented wasting away in the village. Philip didn't give an answer immediately. He said he would think about it. He knew how much of a handful his brother could be. He decided to give him some rules upon which his acceptance. One of such is that he would enroll him in a place where he would relearn the skill he learnt in the village. As his village skills wouldn't become enough for the city, other rules came along. Gerald had issues with the first rule. He believed he had learnt the skill enough, so why did he have to learn it again? He pretended to agree. Anything to get him out of the village. Philip searched out a place for him to master his skill. A week later, Gerald came to Lagos. So poor was his social skills that he couldn't get anyone to respond favorably to him when he was asking for directions to his brother's house. For someone who needed directions, he made no effort to put up a smiling face. Philip was in a meeting when he came, so he couldn't pick his call. He called Gerald after the meeting. Gerald shouted at the other end of the phone, complaining that he had been stranded for hours, unable to locate his house. Philip wasn't shocked. Gerald had always been like that, but he thought he should have the decency to at least put up his best manners. Philip cut the call, rounded off his work and went home. On getting to his street, he saw Gerald at the junction with his traveling bag. He had his usual frown on his face, coupled with his local attire. Philip wasn't proud of his looks at all. Philip went to him, and after some moments of grumbled pleasantries, Philip took him home. On getting home, Philip lashed out at him for his archaic behavior. He reminded him that he was in Lagos and the use of common sense would be highly needed. Gerald was angry, but he kept quiet. He needed his brother, and he couldn't afford to get him livid. Philip's anger diffused some minutes later. He welcomed him well. On Sunday, Philip told him that he would be taking him to the location where he was meant to brush up his skill the next day. Gerald replied that it was too early and he needed to observe the environment more. Philip would have none of it. He insisted he must resume the next day. He grumbled, but Philip had his way. Some weeks later, a neighbor came to Philip in the evening. He just finished making a call outside his flat. The neighbor had come to ask for Gerald. He didn't know his name, so he described him as that brother wey sabi squeeze face. Philip wasn't pleased with that description. His name is Gerald. Next time, ask after him by his name. When Gerald got back home, he mumbled a greeting to his brother and went to his room. Gerald is always unhappy. He hardly starts communication with his brother. Philip went to his room and told him about the visitor and how he described him. He advised him to be more social, as social currency would help him. Gerald didn't say a word. 2 days later, Gerald came back from work, looking really pissed off. He didn't greet his brother. He locked his room after him. His brother was worried. After knocking on his door for some seconds and he wasn't responding, he called his boss for heads up. Mr. Charles picked it, and just before Philip could say anything, he said he had wanted to call Philip. He complained bitterly at how socially disconnected Gerald was. He doesn't respond to customers well. A customer had slapped him earlier on that day, which was why he came home in a bad mood. He wanted to retaliate, but his boss told him to bid his time in this shop goodbye if he tried it. What happened was, the customer was asking him questions about their services. Mr. Charles wasn't on seat. Gerald was giving just one-word answers. The customer expressed her displeasure over how she couldn't get a robust information from him. Gerald eased. Pissed off, the woman slapped him. Mr. Charles walked in on them, and after listening to both parties, he apologized to the customer. Philip heaved a sigh. He buried his head in deep thoughts. Later that night, Gerald came out to get his food. Philip denied him food. You ignore me in my house and want to eat my food? What is your problem? Just 1 month in Lagos, and everyone has nothing good to say about you. He lamented. Gerald didn't talk. His face remained squeezed. He actually hardly talks. No matter the accusation, he doesn't defend himself. He wanted to go back to his room, but Philip's voice interrupted him. There is bread and butter in the fridge. On a Saturday, Philip caught Gerald peeping on one of the neighbors who came in with a harem of good-looking friends. They came in their car and were laughing boisterously. Gerald stood behind the curtains and watched them till they entered. Philip observed him and saw that he actually liked that. He went and touched him. Do you know you can live a happy life like them? Gerald turned back in shock. He thought his brother was sleeping. You can live a happy life. You can have friends, a lover, a beautiful life. I know we had a hard life while growing up. But it doesn't have to define you. You frown too much. No one wants to be friends with someone who never smiles. He said, but I don't plan to frown. I just find myself frowning. Gerald replied, I know, but it wouldn't have been counted against you if you had good social skills to make up for that. You have to be friendly. It will help your life. Gerald paused for a moment. How can I do that? Sincerely, I want to change. Every of my colleagues in the workshop has friends. They laugh. Their friends visit them. I am always alone and I sometimes get envious. Philip looked at him pitifully. He hugged him. I want you to know that I love you. I will be there for you. I won't stop until you become an able man. You are my brother, my family. You are not alone, said Philip. Gerald's heart melted. He had not been hugged in his entire adulthood. He shed some tears. He couldn't say much. All he could say was, I am sorry. Philip understood and kept hugging him. Henceforth, when you get back from work, no locking yourself in the room. Come out and share your day with me. Let me be your training buddy. Learn social skills by learning how to talk to me, your brother. Deal? He asked. Gerald nodded. I want to hear you speak. Deal? Deal, Gerald replied.